What's going on YouTube, and welcome to my brand new channel on how-tos and really what it just means to be part of the saltwater aquarium hobby. So if you're new to this hobby or thinking about getting into it, this is going to be perfect for you. If you're an expert or if you're halfway through the learning curve, even though the learning curve never really ends, then you're going to enjoy this as well because it might just be a good refresher. So today we're going to be talking about how to cycle a saltwater aquarium. Now, I saw a lot of videos on YouTube as to how to cycle saltwater aquariums, and I feel like there's a couple of things that some of the people have missed out. Primarily, they focus on how to, and the how to portion of things is very easy. It's actually really simple, probably the simplest thing that you're gonna have to do in a saltwater aquarium hobby. But I want to talk about why it's important to cycle a tank. So I've whiteboarded essentially what the first 6 weeks of cycling a saltwater aquarium looks like. And I say 6 weeks because that is the safest approach that you can probably take, which means that it may take 2 weeks, it may take 4 weeks, it may take 6, or it may even take 8 weeks to cycle a tank completely. However, I want people to understand that the number one thing to this hobby is patience. You're gonna need to be patient. You're gonna be looking at videos and you're gonna be looking at corals and fish and different rocks and formation and stuff that you want to see and you want to do, and you're gonna grow impatient. I tell you right now, hold back. It's only going to benefit you in the very long run. So first off, what you're going to start doing is water, live rock, and sand. So very straightforward. Your water has to be RODI, water. I don't recommend not one bit that you take tap water and put it in there and then mix salt and so on and so forth. Your tap water has so many minerals that is not found in the ocean. It's just not the kind of stuff that you would find in the ocean. So if you want to have a good, healthy environment, why introduce certain things that just don't exist or coexist with corals, with rocks, with fish, with invertebrates, and so on and so forth. So the second thing is you're going to need some live rocks. So what I mean by live rock is pretty straightforward. You're going to go to your local fish store, you're going to buy yourself some live rock. I recommend that you stick to one kind of live rock so that you have, the same kind of look across your tank. It's just going to look better at the end of the day. So I went with what's called Pucani. Pucani rock is great. It's porous. It has a lot of, surface area, and it's just good stuff. And it's also one of the, I would say kind of the mid-range in terms of expenses for your live rocks. So you're going to need 1 pound per gallon. So if you have a 30-gallon, you're going to need 30 pounds. This is just a good rule of thumb, and I definitely recommend that you follow it. If you can't afford, say 30 pounds or 50 pounds or 75 pounds, because it's $8 a pound or so on and so forth, then at least go with half. You want 50% of your rocks to be in to properly cycle your tank. If not, I don't even recommend that you even start trying to cycle a tank at this point. The second or the third thing I should say that you're gonna get is your sand. So I decided to go with crushed corals and not any sort of other aggregate or fine sand, because this is going to primarily be an SPS dominated tank. So there's going to be a lot of circulation and a lot of flow, and I don't want to have some of the fine sugar sand matter just flying up all over the place and disturbing my sand bed. I want to have a good consistent sand bed. I'm also decided not to go with a deep sand bed because number one, it's not sugar sand, and number two, that means that every time that I do a water change, I'm also going to have to siphon the bed. I've had best results in the past with some of the crushed corals. It's where I've seen the least amount of algae in my tank. It's where I've seen the best water quality, and so on and so forth. So let's go back to why you're going to buy yourself live rock. Live rock is extremely important for the simple reason that It's your primary source of filtration in your tank. I say that again, it's your primary source of filtration. It's not going to be the filter that you have in the back. It's not going to be your refugium. It's not going to be your sump. It's not going to be a canister filter. It's not going to be your skimmer, so on and so forth. I can keep going for days, but it's not going to be any of that. It's going to be your live rocks. Why? Because you have a lot of positive biological matter on these rocks that eat all of the detritus. They eat all of the matter that falls onto it, and so on and so forth. It is, in essence, or in the best sense of the word, live, because it has tons of positive, good biological bacteria on it. So when the live rock is shipped directly from the ocean to your local fish store, you have some die-off. The biological matter dies off on some of the rocks. Not all of it, but some of it, which means that you're going to have a decomposing matter that is going to free float in your tank. This is where the cycle actually begins. So this is week 1. You've just introduced your fresh water, your sand, your live rock, and then within the first week, you should start seeing what's called diatoms. Diatoms are caused because the ammonia, which is your first step into the nitrogen cycle, the ammonia will spike up, as you can see, and create diatoms. Diatom is a natural reaction to the environment of your tank that will eat the ammonia, the nitrite, and the nitrate. So you can see I just started. I'm 6 days into it, and I just started having some diatom. That is the brown matter, kind of the rusty color on top of the rocks. If you see this happening in your tank, definitely keep it. Don't scrub it off. This is good. It is the beginning of the cycle. This is a good sign. You want to keep it. So as your ammonia dies down, because your diatoms are eating your ammonia, your nitrite is going to spike up. This is your NO2. I've put week 2 only to be safe. This could happen much earlier, it could happen much later. However, doing tests, as you can see, you're going to test it first, which will be your benchmark. You're going to test week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way through your nitrogen cycle. As your diatoms start to die off, because it's eating the nitrite cycle, it will then cycle into a nitrate form of the nitrogen cycle, which is your NO3. This is week 3 or so. So during your week 3, you're going to do your first water change. Not before then and not after. I recommend that you do 5%. It's very straightforward. Do the math of what your tank is at 5%. When that happens, your nitrate will start to go down. As your nitrate go down, I suggest that week 4, you do your second water change. At this point, you'll know that you're very much at the end of the nitrogen cycle if it's not completely finished. And at this point, all you need to do is continue your water changes throughout week 4, 5, 6, and pretty much every week after that, or every 10 days or so. This is a good time for you to introduce your cleanup crew and hardy fish. Your cleanup crews, your invertebrates, your little crabs, your snails. I don't recommend that you go with sensitive cleanup crew such as sea stars and so on, only because right now your tank is still going through a lot of changes, and those changes are going to be too drastic and too dramatic for some of the softer invertebrates and fish. So you want to go with cleanup crews and fish. So this is going to bring you to week 4, 5, and 6. This is where you might want to introduce some hardy corals. And when I say hardy corals, I'm really talking about soft corals. I know this is, really confusing because I'm saying it's soft corals, but they're hardy corals. What are they? Are they soft or hard? So on and so forth. So what you want is a coral that can resist the changes that your tank is currently going through. So the temperature changes, the water changes, the light changes, the fact that your tank is overall adapting and creating its own ecosystem. This is what I mean by hardy corals. So again, let's just walk through this. So you're going to start off, you're going to put some water, live rock, and some sand. You're going to do your first test. How do you do these tests? Very straightforward. You're going to go to your local fish store and you're going to buy yourself a simple kit. You want to look at something that has either ammonia and nitrate, or nitrate, sorry. in the test kit. Nitrite isn't always available. It's one of the harder kind of tests to look, because it's in the middle of your nitrogen cycle. So it's not something that's tested quite often. But if you can find it, I definitely recommend that you find it. Now, if you happen to see diatoms in your tank and you do a test and none of these are coming up, you don't see any trace of ammonia, any trace of nitrite, any trace of nitrate, it doesn't mean that your tank is ready to go. What it means is that the diatoms are full of it, and currently, you know, in the best way that I can explain it is it's digesting the nitrogen cycle. That's why you're not going to see it in the water, because it's actually in your diatoms. So don't think that just because you don't see any traces of it, but you have diatoms, that your nitrogen cycle is over and you can just introduce fish and so on and so forth. Another method to cycle your aquarium is to put hardy fishes in. I don't recommend that you do that. And that's for the simple principle that your fish is going to be exposed to ammonia and nitrates. Some of them are okay with it, they can live through it, but it's just not the kind of approach that you want to this hobby. You want this hobby because you're recreating a little piece of nature in your own home. So why would you just, you know, kind of bring fish in and you know, have them sustain such treatment with, you know, the ammonia and the nitrate and just the overall nitrogen cycle? You want to introduce them when you have a nice, healthy, comfortable place for them to live in. So that, you know, pretty much concludes my first video. I'm going to do one at week 2, at week 3, 4, 5, and 6, and probably a couple of videos in between talking about what my overall setup is, what lights I have, what kind of circulation I'm going to go with, and really just have a conversation with you, the followers, the viewers, YouTube in general. You know, this is my next step in my hobby. This is my 4th tank, so I think it's going to be great. Again, please, you know, thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't like it. Leave some comments. I'm new at this. I want to try to make this successful. Help me out, YouTube. Help us out. Help me, help you. Just trying to be funny here, not working too well. And that's it. So I'm just gonna, you know, leave you with a little bit of a 360 pan or a 180 pan around my tank, so you can kind of see what I decided to go with in terms of aquascape. I'm going to talk about this in future videos, but I really enjoy, you know, having a lot of places for fish to swim, for different crabs to kind of crawl from and to and around, under and over. So I like my caves, I like my swim throughs. I pick my rocks based on character, so you can see this rock here is pretty cool. It has a bunch of cracks and holes. I keep my water between 78 and 77 all the time. So with that said, thank you very much for watching. Peace.